Welcome back, listeners, and welcome to our very first horror compilation. I went ahead and took some of our best frightening tales, some of our darkest stories, and put them into one video just for you. Feel free to listen to this while you relax, or put in the background for some nice tales. Whatever the case, let me know how you like this video. These are stories for a dark summer's night. Enjoy. I was at the gas station when the clown approached me. He was of average height, with a pale, painted face, a big red nose, and a mouth smeared with what looked to be blood. His eyes were far too beady and dark. No whites showed. It was like they were tiny holes in his face instead of eyes. I crossed my arms and stood my ground as the clown came closer, his shoes squeaking. It was almost midnight, and no one but us and the attendant was out. I gave the clown my meanest look, ready to defend myself. He stopped moving once he was a couple feet away, and cocked his head before giving me a rotten tooth grin. "Joke's on you, asshole. I'm not afraid of clowns." And then he looked at me more intensely, as if studying me. He nodded his head and spoke for the first time.
"Oh, sorry,"
he said in a deep, rough duotone voice.
"I read you wrong."
He then raised his hand, grabbed the flesh near his jaw and chin, then pulled it up, ripping his face off like a mask. I backed up, a scream bubbling up my throat as his clown face came off to reveal the giant head of a spider. Its black glassy eyes stared me down. Its mandibles moved, and it cocked its head and took a step forward. I trembled and fell backwards, scrambling to get to my feet.
"Is this better?"
It's 9 o'clock at night. A sitcom is on, and you're talking to your best friend, Andrea, on the phone. "You coming over?"
"Yeah,
Andrea says.
be there in 10.
"You have beers and popcorn ready."
That party was crazy last night. I saw you with that guy. You get his number?"
"Yeah, but I'm not that into him." Your phone goes off. You look down at the caller ID.
"Who is it?"
Andrea says. You. The caller ID shows Andrea and shows her little picture icon next to her number. What are you doing? Are you calling me?
No, I'm talking to you.
The phone stops. Well, anyway, I'm not that into him.
But you kissed him. I saw you.
It was kind of a in-the-moment thing.
Come on, just text him. One little date can't hurt.
Oh my god.
At least get a free meal.
What? Hold on. Andrea, stop that.
What?
You're calling me again. I know you're switching the line.
I swear to you, I'm not. I'm not calling you. I can't switch the line and still talk to you. You know that.
No, I don't, you prankster. I'm going to answer it.
No.
Why not? I know it's you.
No. It's not me. Don't answer that call.
You gaze at your phone screen and watch till the number goes away. You're really starting to freak me out.
Don't be. I'm just saying. I'm not doing it. So, you going to Keith's party? I hear he throws great birthday parties. BYOB, by the way.
I'm thinking about it. I feel like Michelle is going to be there, and I don't really want to run into her.
Why? She just wants some of that booty.
Stop. Hey, you know what would be freaky?
What?
If you weren't really you.
What do you mean?
Like, let's say, what if the person calling me had really been you? Like, how do I know I'm speaking to the real Andrea? Hello?
Want proof?
She asked.
I'm coming over.
Your phone starts to buzz again, and you look down to see the same thing. Andrea is calling.
Don't answer it.
How did you...
I'll prove it. Keep talking to me.
You get up slowly and walk through your dark living room with only the glow of the television to light your way.
I'm at the door. You'll see. Open up.
You switch the line over. Hello?
Hey! Sorry I'm late. I just got off of work. We still on for movie night?
Andrea?
Yeah.
I was just talking to you.
Sure. Can I come over?
You go to your door and look out the peephole. No one. You look at your phone to see the other line is still on hold. Yeah. Give me a sec. You switch over. Hello? Hello? It's not even 9 o'clock, and this lady walking ahead of me with her son turns back to glance at me. Her son, who looks like he can't be older than 13, turns as well. I'm black, wearing my hoodie and comfortable sweatpants. Not all that intimidating, but they speed up, walking faster down the street. It's a residential neighborhood, less lights. I understand, but really? Rolling my eyes, I just shove my hands in my pockets and keep walking. There's a grocery store on the main street. I just wanted some water and yogurt. The lady isn't walking that fast, but she turns around again, face worried. I sigh. Miss, don't nobody want you. So, I stop completely and wait. I shouldn't have to do this, but I do. I shuffle a bit in place, then feel like an idiot for letting them go ahead. I bet someone in their house was getting a kick out of this. I glance back for myself, and behind me was the big form of some bulky man. He stood only a few feet away. He was tall, dressed in black with broad shoulders. He, too, had a hoodie on, one that hid his face. I froze, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. Something silver glinted in his hand. That lady, she wasn't running from me.
I love you. Like, absolutely adore you. So soft. I've never felt this way about anyone before. I mean, I have, but this is different. We have something special. Oh. The way you gaze at me with those hazel eyes. I'm sorry I can't free you. You'll have to stay here till you love me back.
Kylie set the basement up as she always had. 7 white candles, a ring of salt, and her Ouija board. However, today was different because it was Valentine's Day. This time, Kylie scattered some rose petals and lit some sandalwood incense. She placed some chocolates next to the Ouija board and even wore a pretty red dress. Kylie sat down and placed her planchette on the board. She knew the game wasn't meant to be played alone, but she had been doing so for quite some time now. Settling down on the basement floor, Kylie made herself comfortable, then put her fingers on the planchette. She began as usual, moving the planchette in a clockwise circle before resting it in the middle. Is anyone with me? Her stomach fluttered. The planchette was still. Is anyone present with me tonight? She waited, but no response came. The planchette jerked itself to yes. The candles began to flicker, and one of the 7 snuffed out. Kylie smiled. May I ask who I'm speaking to? Kylie already knew, or at least hoped, it would be her new friend. The planchette moved. It touched each end of the alphabet in a figure 8 pattern, a telltale sign of her friend. It was AZNM, a demon she called Asm. It had appeared after she played a few times. Asm, is that you? No movement. I know it's you. It's obvious. The air in the basement was already cool, but somehow dropped to a temperature that made goosebumps appear on her arms. Kylie heard something fall off the shelf behind her. She turned to look, but only saw the dark corner of the basement. Another candle snuffed out. What does my fortune look like today? PAINFUL. Painful? Kylie gave a sour look. Come on, that's not nice. How about this then? Will I ever find love? Your soulmate burns in hell. Bitch. Wow. Okay, a little strong, but I get the message. In hell must mean you. Sweet. She took one of the chocolates she set out and popped one in her mouth. I know you can't, but I bought these for you. Something else crashed behind her, and she whirled to see a paint can had dropped off the shelf. It rolled across the floor, making a clanging sound as it did. Is that you? Stop it. You know I'm not scared of you. Don't mess up the basement again. Asm had done it all already. Creepy messages, turning on and off lights, throwing things. At this point, if he didn't throw a knife, she wasn't going to freak out. He would just have to listen to her like every other night. I hate Valentine's Day, actually. No, not because I'm single. Just because I'm tired of hearing everyone talk about it as if it's super special. It isn't really. If you have a partner, you should say you love them every day of the week, right? The planchette didn't move. Kylie rolled her eyes. At least have some opinions. The board was still and silent, but another candle went out. She frowned and tried to move on. Okay, fine. I'll be honest with you. I played today because I wanted to ask you something. Go to hell. Stop. It was Asm's way of flirting. Maybe, but don't interrupt. I'm nervous. Anyhow, I wanted to ask if you would be my Valentine. She expected some sort of sign. Maybe the candles would flare or a spectral cackle would rumble through the basement. She even expected the board to answer her in some derogatory way. Something should have happened, but the basement was quiet yet again. Hello, Asm. At least have the courtesy to reject me. Another candle went out. 3 were left. Kylie opened her mouth to tell Asm to stop, but the hairs on the back of her neck stood up and a chill ran down her spine. She could feel something watching her. Something in the corner. Kylie looked up. The basement corner seemed darker than it was before, as if darkness had eaten part of the basement and there was no corner left. She squinted and peered into where she knew the corner should be, trying to make out what she was seeing. The 3 candles are still alight, but even that did not penetrate the dark corner. Then, she finally saw it. Kylie saw a pale face hovering in the corner. It was as white as a sheet, but very faint, as if it wasn't quite done materializing into the basement. Kylie gasped at its sudden appearance. She felt her blood run cold at the sight of it. Nothing like it had ever appeared before. She had to take several breaths to calm herself down. One of the 3 candles blew out, and she cursed herself for not bringing a lighter. Asm? She asked, rubbing her eyes to make sure she wasn't dreaming. The face didn't move. It was triangular in shape and too high up, making whatever was standing there about 7 feet tall. She studied its features. It looked almost like a normal face, except it was far too pale and gaunt. The eyes seemed far too large, and its nose was short and pushed up with wide holes, like a fleshy skeleton. Its lips were so thin, she could barely tell it was smiling. Kylie cleared her throat and felt herself smile, shyly, in return. Hi. This is our first time meeting like this. The face's smile grew wider, the lips pulling back from sharp-pointed teeth, 4 of which were elongated like fangs. That's when Kylie realized it wasn't smiling, but baring its teeth at her. She licked her suddenly dry lips. Beside her, she heard the planchette move. Her eyes darted to the side for a moment, and when she looked back at the corner, the face had become more solid and visible, a pale triangle of color, in the pitch black of the basement. Nice trick. I know you can't hurt me. You would have by now. Kylie laughed nervously and used her hand to feel for the board beside her. She took hold of it and dragged it closer. She didn't take her eyes off of the face. Another candle blew out. 1 was left. The basement felt heavy with the darkness. This is our first date. It should be special. The planchette flung itself to yes without her touching it at all. She could barely see the answer from the edge of her vision. Should we play a game? It went to no. So then, what should we do? The planchette began to move quickly over the board. She glanced quickly, trying to keep the face in her peripheral, but couldn't catch what the board was spelling. Wait, what? The planchette moved again, too quick for her side glancing. Kylie barely had a chance to register what it said as her eyes darted between letters. She looked at the face in the corner, pursing her lips and very annoyed. It's too fast. Just do it slower. No tricks. It began to move slower this time. Kylie carefully read it out loud. Don't look. The piece kept moving. Down. A chill came over her, and her stomach tightened. Kylie slowly raised her eyes, and then the last candle went out. I sit at my desk, typing away in the silence of our office. 3 walls surround me. This is my cubicle. To my right is a picture of my girlfriend. She now lies flipped down. I keep typing. I need to fill out the data on an Excel sheet. To my left is a stress ball and a cold cup of coffee. The thrumming begins. I look up and stop typing.
What is that?
Huh? Camilla says from across my cube.
Nothing.
I grumble. I need to finish these damn reports. But there's this deep, low bass, a pulsing, droning on like someone is drumming in the walls.
Shit.
Wrong formula. Why is the formula always fucked up?
Don't you hear that? Hear what? That noise.
The thrumming makes my damn head pulse. My skull is swelling, moving with the sound. I can feel my brain expand and shrink, pumping and growing with the noise. It hurts, and it makes my vision blur.
What the fuck is that?
Shh. I swallow. Type. Keep typing. You have to get this done. You have to take care of your family. But it thrums, and I don't know a damn thing about Excel and accounting.
What are you mumbling?
Camilla says. Mumbling? I wasn't mumbling. I'm typing, and that damn noise is getting louder. So loud I can't hear my keyboard. I hate this place. Why am I even here? It's because of my girlfriend and that needy-ass kid. I tried to do animation and graphic design. And by try, I mean I thought about it, drew a little, and took a class or 2. I'm not cut out for it. I'm not cut out for anything.
I can't concentrate,
Camilla says.
Who cares?
I answered.
Just shut up.
Who the fuck was she talking to? I would tell her off, but the beating continues, that rhythmic pulse. It's the thrumming of a brain. I know because my own pulse is with it, growing bigger and shrinking down again.
Damn it!
I fucked up the formula again. I can't get anything right. Camilla stands up. She's peering over the cubicle wall. She's angry, but her furious eyes and red face quickly turn pale. I stand up too. My brain hurts.
Don't you hear it?
She's trembling. Her eyes are wide.
What's wrong?
But she doesn't answer me. She just screams and points. And then as if a switch was flipped, her eyes turn white and her veins begin to show on her face. They are dark and pulsing. She throws her head back and is now mumbling.
Camilla?
But something sharp and deliberate burns my scalp and my head throbs. It throbs so hard with the sound that I think my head will explode. Camilla is shaking now. She spasms, her mouth slack. I try to scream, but I can't. I feel my head tilt back, all the way so that I am looking up at the ceiling. It's black glass. Why is the ceiling black glass? The pain doesn't subside, and I feel powerless. My muscles seize and spasm, and above me, I can see the faint pulsing of some odd light. It's not glass up there. It can't be. It's all shiny and undulating slowly. The mass is squirming, and the dull lights inside it move with its form. I can see something writhing in the darkness above me now, and for a moment, I can see the tendrils of some cybernetic monster slide across the black glass like some giant snake. Everything burns. It hurts and my head throbs. My head snaps back down and I see Camilla, wires and tendrils connected to her head and leading back up to the black glass ceiling. They pulsated in time with her veins, pumping away, draining her. My heart felt like it would burst now because I could feel it too. The tendrils in my head, just under the skin. And then it stops. That thrumming noise, the beat of my head, and the pain. I'm sitting. I'm at my desk typing away. I stop. The Excel sheet is finished. My coffee is still cold, and the clock ticks on the wall. 11 p.m. The office is quiet, and I look up to see only a regular white ceiling.
Holy shit,
Camilla says, standing and peering over at me.
we sure put in some hours.
I blinked at her. She had bags under her eyes and pale, clammy skin. How much time had passed?
What's wrong with you?
She asked. I shook my head and rubbed my eyes, hoping the formula wasn't wrong.
Nothing,
I said.
just feeling drained.
This is the story of Jerry Edmund, who lived with his wife, his dog, and their unborn son. He worked in an office all day and night, till the stress built and made the happy couple fight.
You don't love me. I bet you're sleeping with the clerk.
Mary said with ire. Jerry denied this.
I do love you.
But Mary screamed,
Liar!
he'd sacrificed his money and time, everything for her. There was no debate. Why did it matter that he came home late?
Shut up. You're driving me fucking crazy. You don't work. You sit around all day, fat and lazy.
Mary gasped.
You pig. I'm pregnant with your child.
Then she made him sleep on the couch, feeling exiled. For the next few days, his wife was as quiet as a mouse. But nothing got better in the Edmund house. The dog barked all the time now, was irritating and annoying, much more than Jerry could allow. So he grew tired of the noisy thing, and thought no one would ask if he went missing. He grabbed a crowbar and spent some time with him one day, beat the pup and bent its body in a funny way. Now Jerry lived with just his wife, and he really tried to lead a good life. But when stress made him turn to drugs and booze, his wife's face, arms, and neck began to bruise.
You're a terrible man,
said Mary. She'd had enough and wanted to leave.
You still love me.
Jerry answered. He wanted to believe. I can't stay here.
Goodbye.
Mary finally said.
You can't take my baby.
Jerry blocked the door.
The only way we part is dead.
That night befell the greatest tragedy. Jerry took a bat to crook Mary's spine violently. Down the stairs she fell, twisted and broken. He wished it didn't have to be so, but Jerry hadn't misspoken. Now both Mary and the dog were crooked and bent, leaving Jerry alone. So to the grave he went, He waited till dawn, then hung himself from the ceiling fan. Broke his own neck. Now they call him the Crooked Man. They welcomed her into the center with smiling plastic faces. The nurses all looked alike. They were all Astro brand. Fair skin, brown eyes with hair that stopped just above their shoulders. Their little white hats and dresses matched the walls and floors. Katharina got up from her seat when they called her name. She had passed the psychological survey, the first and most important step when applying to be a surrogate mother. Now she was back for a physical exam, and afterward, she would sign all the right papers. A door to the back of the clinic opened, and a nurse held it for her, a clipboard in her hand and the same smile on her face as the rest of her sisters.
"Welcome. Third door to your right,"
the nurse said. Katharina did as she was told and went to the third room. It was just as white and clean as everything else. There was an examination bed to her right, a scale and some chairs to the left, and a row of counters and cupboards against the far wall.
"Lay down any foreign objects and step onto the scale, please."
Katharina set her purse down on a chair and stepped up on the scale. The nurse approached her and put a thermometer into her mouth as the scale reached 150 pounds.
"A healthy weight,"
the nurse said. Then her eyes flashed blue and the thermometer beeped.
98.9. No fever. Please take a seat.
She did.
"I will now take a blood sample. Please hold out your arm."
Katharina extended her arm. She had worn a tank top even though the office was cold, so she didn't have to roll up her sleeves. The nurse touched her index finger just above the bend of her elbow inside of her arm. She watched the nurse's eyes flash yellow this time.
"Steady heart rate. Blood sugar at an acceptable level. Blood pressure normal, and no detection of malnutrition. Your medical records tell me that you have a history of heart disease in your family, but this is not detected in you."
Katharina licked her dry lips. "So, do I pass?" The nurse turned her head to look down at her.
"Please await further instruction,"
she said before leaving the room. It was 30 minutes before the nurse, or perhaps another one of the droids, came back. This nurse gave her the standard smile.
"You may wait in the secondary waiting room. The doctor will call you shortly."
She got up and followed the nurse out of the room. The nurse led her down a hall, turned right, and walked down another hall and into a smaller waiting room. The white walls in that room doubled as screens that played soothing images of flowers being pollinated, fruit ripening, and seeds being planted. In between scenes, the company logo appeared. Katharina took a seat next to a pregnant woman. Her belly was full and round. She looked as though she were ready to burst. Her shirt stretched over her, and Katharina could see the dark veins that covered her odd-shaped tummy. The woman was blonde and blue-eyed, just like her. How far along are you?" Katharina whispered. The woman looked at her and gave a tired smile. 3.5 months, she said, looking at her belly and rubbing in slow circles. "Only 3? "Yes, they grow so fast once implanted. You just have to take care of them right." "They approved you for more than one?" The woman nodded. "People like us have the best genes. Recessive is good," she said, lifting a hand to lightly touch Katharina's golden locks.
Natty Corain.
A voice called before Katharina could pull away from the woman's hand. She watched the pregnant woman be helped up by the nurses, a smile on her face and a far-off look in her glassy blue eyes. The woman walked off. Katharina didn't know how many loops of flowers and fruit she had watched before her name was finally called.
Katharina Dahlman.
She stood up and looked around. A section of the far wall opened up. A nurse stood by the entrance, and as Katharina walked past her, she bowed. The inside of the next room was far more welcoming, with potted plants and colorful artwork hanging on the plain white walls. Black couches lined one side of the office, and a desk took up most of the room. An older man with short dark hair, wearing a white coat, sat in a chair behind the desk. The nameplate on it said, Dr. William Sky. Behind him were shelves of books and a poster that depicted the 4 stages of seed development.
Please, take a seat, Miss Dahlman.
Katharina obeyed and took the soft cushioned chair in front of his desk. She wondered how many other women had sat there today.
I've gone over your charts,
He said with a clipboard in his hands.
I like what I saw.
Thank you, the man grunted.
I know you signed up as a one-time surrogate, but PREGNASIS has many offers for someone like yourself.
Dr. Sky said. He stared at her. Katharina pursed her lips and looked down at her hands. She heard the door open, then a nurse came in. She looked up to see her set 2 glasses of water down on the desk, then leave. Dr. Sky took his.
No need to be nervous. Please, have a drink of water.
Katharina nodded, a bit too fast, and took the glass. It was nice and cold.
You've been approved as a surrogate, but you've also been pre-approved for the host program.
Host program? The doctor nodded.
Unlike simple surrogates, hosts are paid triple to have multiple births.
Katharina licked her lips. She took a drink of the cool water. It was refreshing. Her heart was beating faster. She never planned on multiple births. Was that what the woman she had met earlier was doing?
I admit there are some potential dangers, but most women report that the sense of motherhood you'll feel and the money you'll make is completely worth it.
I see. Katharina drank more water.
All we need is your signature.
The doctor gave a friendly smile. His voice was deep and warm.
After all, what's 1 or 2 more seeds in your childless womb?
Excuse me? Dr. Sky set the documents on the desk and pushed them forward with a pen. One was for the surrogate, the other was for the host. Katharina set her glass down. His words weren't exactly wrong. She couldn't bear her own children. Yet she wanted to be a mother, and she needed the money. Of course she wouldn't be able to keep the baby, but wouldn't she be doing a good thing? Alien births were no longer criticized in public. Many women gave birth to the Vectus for money, but she also didn't know if she could become like the woman she'd met. All she wanted was a baby of her own, and a simple life. With her mind set, Katharina picked up the pen. Her mouth felt so dry, and her heart was thumping in her ears. She took one last gulp of water to calm her nerves, and signed the papers for the surrogate.
Well picked, Miss Dahlman. Welcome to the host program.
What? She looked at the papers again, and her eyes blurred. She rubbed them, and when her vision cleared, the document contents had switched. The one she signed was now the host program papers. She reached for the document, but Dr. Sky picked them up faster. That isn't what I want, though. I don't want to become a host, she said in protest. The man just looked at her with the same small smile he had earlier.
Please, calm down, Miss Dahlman.
Katharina's vision wavered and nausea rolled over her as the edge of her vision darkened and sleep began to pull at her eyelids. She looked at the cup of water and wanted to scream. She wanted to cry out for help, but she was sinking into darkness far too quickly. The doctor chuckled.
I'm sure you know by now, there is no turning back at this point. We need you. They need you. They need you and your fruitful body.
She could only shake her head before darkness took her. Katharina sat in group therapy, one of 6 faces in a circle of women. It had been 3 months and her belly was ripe and full of life. She rubbed her bulging stomach gently and felt slithering inside of her. She smiled apologetically. She didn't mean to wake them. Her babies needed plenty of rest now. They were so close. Soon they would be leaving her. She wanted to feel sad, but she could only feel a warm, cloudy joy that made the world seem like a dream, an endless dream that never broke. Even when the unborn Vectic inside her squirmed and pricked at her insides with their tiny little teeth and spiny tentacles. Join hands. Katharina lifted her hands and felt the grip of other blonde women. With unfocused eyes, they began to sway from side to side in unison, voices speaking as one. We are the fruit. We are the fruit that bears the seed. We are the fruit. We are the fruit that bears the seed. We are the fruit. We are the fruit that bears the seed. We are the fruit. We are the fruit that bears the seed. We are the fruit. We are the fruit that bears the seed.
Lately, I've started to hear a thumping in my left ear, like the beating wings of a fly trapped in wax. I figured I just needed to clean my ears out, but that thumping persisted. I was then reminded of a time long ago when I was a child. I was playing with my brother and cousins that evening, and we were out trying to catch tadpoles when I found a small black beetle. They didn't have a name intended to hang out in the mud. So I grabbed one and said to my younger cousin, "I have a secret to tell you." He leaned in to hear what I had to say. I slipped the little black beetle into his waiting ear. He screamed immediately and tried to dig it out.
Get it out!
But the beetle crawled further down.
Get it out! Get it out!
His panic turned to crying, and I felt the smallest hint of pleasure at his expense. My cousin ran down the block and back home. His parents had to rush him to the hospital, where they found the beetle, lodged deep in his ear, encased in wax. I made my cousin promise not to tell on me. Ever since then, I had kept my ears really clean, but lately it's been so hot out, I can feel the build of wax piling up in my ear. Then that fateful moment happened. I yawned and heard it, the sound of wings, like some tiny fruit fly buzzing in my eardrum. I cleaned my ears, held my breath, and even tried jogging. Still, it beat in my ears. The damn thing wants to torture me. My friends and doctors said it was nothing, slight tinnitus, but it won't stop. My parents never found out who put the bug in my cousin's ear, but I knew. And now, I needed to get one out of mine.
Good morning, LA. Welcome back to another morning of AM Car Talk with your devoted hostess, Joella. Here on AM Car Talk, we get to share our thoughts and stories about the hell that is LA traffic. And boy, have we had a week. The 110 is crowded as ever, and the 710 has been gaining extra traffic due to street blockages and closures. To make things worse, accidents have been increasing. On my commute back home, I saw a wreck. An SUV had smashed into the freeway divider and nearly flipped itself. A sad sight, folks. Keep safe out there as you drive. Now, let's open up the lines. Welcome to AM Car Talk.
Morning, Joella.
What have you got for us today?
The craziest thing, Joella. I'm going back home. I live in Compton, and I'm taking the 5 to the 710 around 5:30.
The worst time. Rush hour, baby.
Yeah, but we all know the rules. Just common courtesy. If you know you need to be over, be over. Anyhow, that's what this is all about. I'm driving, and of course you know you can take the right 3 lanes. The second is good at first, the fastest, but it's the third you want to be in, the one that keeps going and splits off to the 710.
You sound like a pro.
Damn right. So, I get over into the third a bit away from the ramp, and I'm minding my own business, blasting my music, smoking a cig, when finally I get to the ramp. And you wouldn't believe this, but some yahoo brings his ass over, and he drives right up to me, nearly knocking into my car with his, trying to scoot his ass onto the ramp.
And did you let him?
Hell no.
Cold-blooded.
Nah. You see, he come up to where the ramp is lifting, and the white lines have separated the ramp from the 5. That's way too late, Joella. You know he had about 4 miles to get over, but people like him want to try and sneak their ass in last minute and cut everybody else off. The honest people who have waited for their chance to get on.
Yeah, I get you. So, this dude tries to cut you off, but doesn't succeed?
Not even in the slightest. I roll my window down and stick my head out, looking at him from the side of my neck with my nose scrunched like, you really thought you had me, huh? And boy, does he get pissed. Son of a bitch flips me off, and I give him the finger right back. I can see and hear him cursing. I drive up, though, and he gets in behind me.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it wasn't over. We're on the ramp, and I can feel his eyes boring into me. I try to ignore him and get onto the 710, but this guy in his stupid-ass Fiat decides to follow me. I don't think he knew I was watching out, but I kept glancing in my rear view, and I can see him swerving in and out of traffic, keeping his eyes on me. He stays 2 cars back the entire time, jumping lanes so that he doesn't leave me. It begins to rain, though, so I roll my windows up, and good thing, too. Once traffic begins to let up a bit, he comes roaring up to the passenger side. He rolls his window down and chucks something hard at my window, scratching it.
Whoa. All that because you didn't let him in?
All that because I wouldn't let him cut me off. But it's all good. I'm on the lookout for his dumbass Fiat, keeping a brick in my back seat.
Okay, well, be careful out there. And thank you for sharing on AM Car Talk. Let's go to break. DJ, hit it. We're back, and the lines are open. Let's hear what you got, Angelitos. Hello, you're on. You're on AM Car Talk. Got a story to share?
Absolutely. It's not much, though.
That's okay. Everything is welcomed here.
This is about my son. And rather than being angry, I'm actually quite proud of it.
Do tell.
We were driving up towards Ventura on the 101.
Rush hour?
2 a.m.
Ah.
It was a family affair, a road trip of sorts. We were on the way to meet some friends of ours. You see, we have little get-togethers every so often, and we all think of each other as one big family. Normally, just me and my wife would go, but she was convinced our son was ready. And to my surprise, he was.
Ready for what?
Don't interrupt. It would take us a few hours to get to our destination. A small town, a quiet place. I don't care to name. But we take back roads because we don't like a lot of attention. Some of these roads go through wooded areas. It's quite beautiful, but it's full of deer. Those small Californian deer. What were they called? Well,
Mule deer?
yeah. We're driving and me and my wife were talking about the banquet and the extracurricular activities planned at our little reunion. When up ahead, one of those deer walks out onto the road.
Sounds like a close call.
I sped up and nailed the little bastard. Crunch.
That's interesting. Maybe we should take a short break.
I'm not done, Joella. See, this is why I'm proud. I smashed into that small deer and had planned to keep going, but my wife stopped me. She made me reverse and pull over. She looks back at our kid, barely 13, and tells him to get out. I see his face in the rearview mirror. He isn't ready, I tell her, and then something in his eyes change, and he gets out without a word. It's late and dark. We turn the flashlight of our phones on and light up the deer. It's all bloody and broken, making this odd, high-pitched whine. CJ, my wife says, and he turns around to see she's holding a knife. This was meant to be. My son looks at it, then to the deer. I think he must have understood by then. We'd been making him study the Book of the Beast since he could read. I thought he wasn't ready, but he took the knife. He looked nervous, sweaty. A part of me found it funny. A part of me thought, yeah, you better be. You're just a boy. You'll never be man enough. But I was wrong, Joella.
Were you?
Yeah, I was wrong, because he went to the deer and dropped to his knees. My boy sat there and then started to shake. He convulsed, and I could see his skin flush red and grow wet with sweat. I heard him speak. I feel it. I hear it. The beast below is calling me. I finally hear it. And then he began to cut the deer. He peeled its face like an apple, slicing through brown fur and skinning it while the thing screamed and bled. He cut till he ripped the fur of its head off, then slit its throat. When my son stood up and turned around, his face was red and brown with the piece of flesh he had taken and put on. He tilted his head back and spread his arms as if to show us the man he had become. I was overcome with pride and joy. My boy had become a man. My wife cried and took her mask out of her purse. She placed it on her face, the worn and yellowed mask of a cat with dried speckles of blood. And I adorned mine. Can you guess what it is?
No. A rat?
I fucking hate rats. No. Bear. A black bear mask. We all hugged, then got back into the car. We sped off faster than before, because now we had a new member to initiate, a new mask to give.
That's... yeah.
I know. traffic, right?
Right. We'll be back with more AM Car Talk, folks, after these messages. Into insanity I fall, racing down his darkened halls. I realize this is all a dream, but I desire to be by this eldritch fiend. I give myself to Cthulhu, a bride to be. Take me into dark waters and swallow me. They say if you gaze at him, you'll go mad. But I think that wouldn't be so bad. I'm on the edge of the abyss, between sanity and void. The non-believers have all gotten paranoid. But I am queen here, on the mountain of insanity, waiting to lose myself to ultimate calamity. Cthulhu This is going to sound weird, and I don't want to make a big deal of it, but whenever I go to put my house shoes on, I hesitate a bit. It's because I know one day there's going to be something inside. You see, it's so easy for a bug or something to slip right into your shoes. And think about it. You wear house shoes less often. More time for something to make a home in your shoe. My house shoes just sit there, a snug, furry den for a creature to fit into. Last night, I got up to pee, and I was going to put my foot in my slippers when I had a sudden vision of a spider waiting at the very end of the shoe. It was all black and so tightly fit it didn't have space for webs. It just clung to the fur of the shoes, waiting for my fleshy toes to enter its domain. I went to the restroom barefoot. Ridiculous, right? But I keep looking at the house shoes, and it freaks me out. I know, I'm most likely not going to find anything there. One time, I put my foot in and felt something slide right across my toes. I yelled and yanked my foot out, and when I looked inside, I saw stray fabric. That's all it was. But I keep getting this feeling. The longer I wait, the more likely the chances go up. It isn't impossible. It's improbable. That means one day you'll put your foot inside your slipper or shoe, and something, some wicked little thing, will be waiting for you. Huh?
Please, someone. Can anyone hear me? Hello? I'm trapped. Help. Someone, please. Help, please. Someone. I'm trapped.
Hello? Holy shit. Hey, kid.
No,
Shit.
please. I'm stuck. I want my mommy.
Where's your mom?
I'm so hungry. Please, help me. I have to get out.
How long have you been down there?
Please.
Okay, calm down. I'll go get...
No, please. Please don't leave. I'm so scared, please.
Okay, I'm not going to go
I'm
anywhere.
so scared. Please, please.
Let me see.
Hey, what's up, B?
Hey, Tay. I got a situation here. You know the old whale by Johnson's?
The one that lady fell into last year, yet they still haven't covered it?
Yeah, that one. Some kid is stuck in it. Hey, kid. What's your name?
Jordan?
Okay, Jordan. Don't be scared.
Are they hurt?
Are you hurt?
I can't move my legs.
Shit. Kid is hurt.
Alright then, maybe you should call...
Hello? Come on. Come on. Not now.
Please help me. I want to get out.
I know, Jordan. Don't worry. We'll get you out of there. Fuck. What do I do? Come on, man. Shitty 4G, whatever.
Are you still there?
Yeah, don't worry. Hello down there. See, it's not that bad. Don't be scared. Say, how'd you end up in there anyhow?
I just wanted to play Explorer, like Indiana Jones. I tied my rope off, but I guess it wasn't tight enough. It slipped, and I fell all the way in. I just wanted to prove that I could do it. I even brought my cell phone to record my adventures, but it broke when I fell, so I couldn't call for help.
Wow, kid. That really is adventurous of you. Wait, did you say rope?
Yes.
B, what the hell?
Call dropped. Never mind that. The kid has rope.
What? Do you need me to call the cops?
Please don't tell my mommy. She's going to be so mad. She'll never let me out again.
Hey, kid. How much rope do you have? Do you think you could toss it up?
What? Dude, no, I don't think that's a good idea.
It is. I could pull them up or, I don't know, go down and pull us both up.
That's ridiculous. Just wait for the firefighters.
I can't just not do anything. They sound tin. I could easily carry them on my back.
Oh my god, B, really, this sounds...
Come on, man. Jordan, do you think you can toss the rope up? Jordan? Awesome. I'm going to tie this to a tree a few yards away. You tell me if the rope is too short. All right. Here and... shit. Tay, not right now. I'm going to try something. I'll call you back.
What? No, don't.
Okay, Jordan, are we good? Is there enough rope for me to reach you and get back up?
Yes, but hurry. It's going to get dark soon.
Yeah, it's alright though. I'll get you back up before then. Alright, okay. I can do this. I can do this. One foot after the other. Hey, Jordan, talk to me, buddy.
My legs hurt. I think my ankle is twisted.
Well, as long as you hold on to me on the way up with your arms, you'll be fine. Okay. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. 1. You got hobbies?
I like to play games.
Yeah, me too. Like video games?
No.
Not now. This is deeper than it looks. You sure there's enough rope?
I walked
Jordan?
and entered the club.
No.
People all around me, but I'm out of
What?
blood. I'm pushing past the guards. No rhythm
Yes.
can stop me. And who I see?
What did you tie it to
Big
before?
mother Don.
Seems
I
sturdy
gotta
to me.
go get it and pull out my gun.
How'd a kid like you haul all this rope anyhow? Jordan? 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 You okay down? Fuck. That hurt. Jordan? Jordan? Are you okay? Hello? What the? Jordan? Hey. Jordan? Hello? Shit. Oh, shit. Damn it. Where? Damn it. Hello? Jordan? Jordan. This isn't funny. That's better. Oh, what the fuck? How? Tay? Hello? Can you hear me?
B? What's happening? Well, dangerous.
Listen, Tay. I went down. I climbed down with a rope, and there isn't anybody down here. Do you hear me? I don't see a kid.
I told you. The not down there.
I can't hear you. This is damn well. Tay, the rope broke. I don't even know how it got up to me, because there's no kid. Tay. No. Shit.
just try to... What? The wall is wet?
Help. Help. Help.
Hello?
It's so cold and lonely.
Hello? Jordan? Are you down here? Ugh. God damn it. No. Come on. Come on. Come on. Fuck.
Mama isn't coming back.
Jordan?
Mommy's mad at us. 'Cause we were so naughty.
What?
3 little kittens went to play while Mama Cat cooked and Papa worked all day. Mama warned them not to get dirty, but they didn't listen and played without worry.
Jordan? Where are you?
They came home dragging a mess everywhere, so Mama told them to stay out there. But the kittens disobeyed and made the house all muddy. When Papa came home, he blamed Mama and made her all bloody.
Okay, just please stop already. No, please, no. Please, no.
These kittens were spoiled, rotten little sinners. One day they snuck in and ate all of Papa's dinner. Mama tried to explain and make Papa understand. But still he grew angry, and she got the back of the hand.
Is this some sort of prank? Hello? Hey! Someone! Hello? Is anyone there?
The kittens laughed at her fate. They were a product of Mama Cat's rape. Mama tried to love them equally, but they all got their looks paternally. Finally, Mama Cat snapped and broke, locked Papa in the house, and watched it go up in smoke. She took the bad kittens to a field, her hatred quite unconcealed. She said, Papa is going straight to hell, and all the bad little kittens go down the well.
What? What does that even mean?
It means you've been a very bad kitten. Do you want to know what happened to the kittens in the well? No one can, no matter how much they yell.
Please, someone, help me.
Stuck
Please.
in mud and water till their bodies swell.
Let me out.
The slippery waters had become their cell. Now we've been friends to join our hell.
Someone help! 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 Get me out of here! Help! Help!
Stop it. Stop. No! Someone, please. Get me out of here. My phone works. Why won't it work? Stop. No. Stop. Help. Someone, please. Get me out of here. Help. Someone.
I see him.
Hello?
Boy, are you lucky your friend called this in. Don't worry, we're gonna bring you up. Are you hurt?
Just a few scratches.
Alright, hang on. We're coming down.
Here we go.
B.
Oh my god. Tay.
OMG, are you okay? Where's the kid?
I was stuck. I don't know what happened. And then the voices, the kids. I was trapped.
Hey, look at this.
Whoa. Is that a skull? Where's the kid, though?
I think you may need medical attention.
I'm fine. Let's get out of here. I need to be far away from this place as possible.
Yeah, okay, let's go. I'll drive.
I like to write my frustration down. It's a bit of a habit. I get all these feelings, these pent-up emotions, and everything starts to feel so noisy and irritating. It makes my hair stand on end hearing the stupid yapping of girls on their cell phones, some dumb loud baby, or clueless customers asking for an item. So I write about it. That's all. Like this lady on the freeway. That bitch. No, I shouldn't call her that. Not now. But I get so heated. You see, that lady wouldn't let me over, and it's stupid. So stupid. Because she didn't even know how to merge right. I should explain. We're driving down onto the ramp, and the two lanes will soon merge. I'm on the right, she's in front of me, and there are a line of cars in the left lane. But what does she do? She starts to merge way too early. I know she wants a spot, but if she'd just drive up, I'd be able to get in too, instead of being backed up, having to wait for her and this other shit driver. So I decide, fuck that, and drive up. I get to where she's supposed to be, and I'm almost in when she decides to get angry. She speeds up and cuts me off, throwing up a bird as she does. Now I'm stuck, merging into oncoming freeway traffic that's opening up on my right-hand side, that bitch. But don't sweat yet, because what she didn't know was that after I cut into the next lane, I kept my eye on her. Yeah, I followed her, and it was just my luck that she was headed the same direction. I remember her license plate, BG32JU1. I kept my eye out and tailed her hard. We got off on First Street and went up Central. She had no fucking clue. We turned on Mott and went down Figueroa and all the way to the west side where she parked at what I assumed was her office. I just wanted to know where she worked. That's it. That's all I wanted to know. You see, what she didn't know was that I had rope, tape, nails, a hammer, and a 7-inch knife waiting to cut that bitch. I'm sorry. I shouldn't call her that now, because it would be disrespectful to talk about the dead that way. To license plate number BG32JU1. I'll see you at 5 p.m. sharp.
Is anybody out there? Can anybody hear?
I hate this box.
It's trapped me.
It appears.
Can you let me out? It's been so long.
I hate this place.
But no, the time draws near. Come on.
Hello?
Can't you hear? It's me in the box. Let me out. No need to fear.
No need to fear.
No need to fear.
No need to fear.
Anton DeVoe had a schedule. 6 a.m., start the day. Hot shower, shave, brush his teeth, little blue pill, coffee, croissant, get dressed, act like he had some place to be, strip, sit on the couch, watch television, and scratch his balls. By mid-afternoon, he was knee-high in his own self-pity. After divorce court and endless reruns of Seinfeld, it was time for lunch. A sandwich, maybe some leftover chicken, or a slice of cold pizza. At this point, eating became just another habit. Everything was right on time.
Just like clockwork,
He'd say. 5 p.m., he would make some calls, listen to his mom bitch about the old fat ladies at church, hang up and think about the friends he used to have, call his buddy, get some weed, and pretend he was happy. Night falls, right on time. Order dinner, Chinese, Italian, or perhaps he would feel exotic one night and order Thai or Indian. He always ate on his sofa, the ugly purple and green plaid couch his ex-girlfriend Vicky dumped on him. 9 rolls around, head to the bedroom, put his ear up against the wall, and listen to his neighbors fuck. Like clockwork. Give them 30 minutes, then bang on the wall. 11 was bedtime. 2 white pills and a yellow one. Sleep takes over, then the cycle repeats. Today Anton woke up at 6 o'clock as usual. He took his shower, shaved, and in the middle of brushing his teeth, heard a knock on the door. He tried to ignore it and continued to brush his teeth. He got the small white cup that sat at the back of the counter and filled it up with water before rinsing his mouth. The knocking came again. He acted as though he didn't hear, but the small rapping soon became a constant pounding on his door. Anton threw down his face towel and left the bathroom.
All right already, I'm coming.
He shouted. The knocking stopped. Anton got to the door and looked through the peephole. To his relief, he saw no one but a darkened hall.
Goddamn kids.
He opened the door slowly, peering into the hall. When he was sure no one was there, he opened the door all the way. At his feet was an envelope. It had no address and simply read, "Open me." Anton's brows furrowed. He looked across the hall. Directly across from him was a door with a dingy number 12 on it. He knew his would say 13. Anton picked up the envelope and quickly retreated into his unit, locking the door. The apartment was quiet and still, his haven from the outside world. Anton threw the letter on the couch and went to the window. He pulled back the curtain to let some light into his living room and was met with a glass pane filled with rivulets of water. All he could see through the rain were blurry colors and obscure shapes. He closed the curtain again and turned his lamp on. The warm glow of the electric light lifted his mood. Anton looked at the white envelope on the couch. "Open me," it said. He made his way over to the couch and sat, picking the piece of abandoned mail up. He held it up to the light and knew it wasn't a check. He opened it with one swift tear at the end. One piece of folded paper slid out. It was thin and yellow, its ends slightly browning with decay. He unfolded it. Scrawled on the paper were bold and sharp letters, script written as though the writer didn't have enough time.
To who this letter now finds,
He read.
I have made a grave mistake and have paid the ultimate price. What the hell?
He didn't bother finishing the letter. Anton threw it aside. It must have been some sort of joke, a prank some snot-nosed kid was pulling to fuck with him. Well, he wouldn't let them ruin his day any further. Anton looked at the clock. A bit past 7. It was time for his coffee. He went to his kitchen, which was as cluttered as the rest of his home. Organized chaos, he called it. Everything had its place. It just so happened its place might be stuck against the wall or a pile at the foot of his couch. Anton grabbed his bag of coffee, got water from the sink, and performed his usual rituals. He sat back against the counter and folded his arms, eyes falling back on the letter. A grave mistake, the letter mentioned. What if the letter wasn't a prank, but a cry of help from some young, hot girl next door? Anton bit his lower lip. His coffee steamed. He grabbed the pot and poured the dark beverage into his favorite mug. He didn't feel like cream and sugar today. Anton leaned back and took a sip of his coffee. Whoever wrote the letter acted as if they didn't know who they were writing to.
To who this letter now finds.
Anton scoffed and looked at the clock. It was time to get dressed. He finished his coffee, trying to let the warmth calm the distressing thoughts of the letter. He set his mug down and weaved through the mess of his apartment, heading to his bedroom to open his closet and fish through wrinkled shirts and jeans, sweaters and slacks. He settled on some old yet comfortable jeans and a white tank top. Afterwards, he walked back into the living room and plopped down on the couch, feet kicking up and pushing aside a stack of magazines on the table. He turned on the television and flipped to his usual channel. Some girl was crying into the arms of a talk show host while a man yelled victoriously in her face about not being the father to her baby. Usually, seeing the troubles of others lifted his mood, but instead of criticizing women on TV, he thought about the letter now lying on the floor by the leg of the table.
Fine,
he said before giving in and picking up the letter. He opened it up once more and began to read.
To who this letter now finds, you have made a grave mistake and must pay the price. So it is written, so it is written.
He was sure he had read it differently before. Anton rubbed and blinked his eyes before continuing. The words began to fade, too illegible for him to read. He moved on till they became legible again.
Alone, alone, he finds himself, inviting all his friends.
Anton frowned.
Friends?
More illegible text. The rushed scrawl of writing ended there. Anton didn't have any friends.
What the hell is this? An invitation?
He said. Below that was more text, this time printed neatly as if another person had written it.
Through smoke and shadows, you now see. Invite the cold ones to come into thee. Tongue and spit, come to call. Open the door into the cold one's hall. Be and be gone. At midnight strikes the clock. Answer the call when you hear the knock.
Anton could only stare at the letter. He didn't know what to think of it, only that it was total bullshit, and the fact that someone left it at his doorstep further angered him. He wanted to rip it apart, to tear it into pieces and say, "Screw you" to whoever was playing with him. Without any more thought of the letter that had haunted him all morning, Anton continued to watch TV. Commercials, reruns, breaking news, and sitcoms came and went. And then the clock struck 12 noon. Anton got up, wondering why he hadn't climbed back into some comfortable pajamas.
Because my whole day got fucked up by that letter,
he said. It was lunchtime, and he had skipped breakfast. He was feeling that decision. His stomach growled and ached, so Anton headed to his fridge. He opened the door and was greeted by the smell of decay, the sickening scent of rotting meat and vegetables.
What? What happened to my food?
He yelled into the palm of his hand, covering his mouth so he wouldn't puke from the putrid smell. He opened his freezer to check if it was broken. It was cold. Too cold. All his food was frozen and freezer burned, yet the dowel had not been touched. He quickly closed his refrigerator and went to the phone. Takeout was always nice. He called the number for Joe's Pizzeria. The line had interference, a constant static that was probably due to the rain or something. He didn't care. Anton ordered himself a medium pepperoni and sausage pizza. 20 minutes, they said. He sat down and waited, tapping his foot for 20 minutes till the pizza man knocked. He got up quickly, slightly relieved at the thought of another person for once, though he still felt the familiar tension in his back, and his palms began to sweat. Hadn't he taken his blue pill today? Anton went for the door, sweaty palms gripping the knob as he leaned in and peeked through the hole. A pimple-faced kid with a Joe's Pizzeria hat was standing outside. Anton grabbed his wallet from the counter. The kid knocked again. Taking out a 20, he opened the door to receive his food. No one. Absolutely no one was there. He looked down the hall. No one, not even the fading steps of a person. He shivered, feeling cold. Anton suddenly smelled a stench, slightly blown across his face, as if someone were standing there. Goosebumps prickled his skin as he stared at the empty space in front of him. His pulse quickened, and he slammed the door, locking it with fumbling hands. He was so sure he saw a kid there, holding his pizza. He couldn't have left that quickly. He would have heard him leave.
Just cool it. It's nothing. A mistake. Probably had the wrong floor and my guy's lost. Damn idiots.
The television was still on, but Anton felt nervous, as if it was not enough noise and liveliness. He was supposed to be used to being alone by now. He liked his solitude. His home was his reprieve from the shitty world. Every once in a while, though, it was nice to hear another person. Anton sat down on his couch and broke out his phone. Perhaps he would call his mom earlier than usual. No, it wasn't time. He took a breath and told himself to calm down and go about his day, which is what he did. A movie, a joint, some games, and cartoons relaxed him. He smoked some more weed till his eyes found the clock, which told him it was now past 5. Perfect. He grabbed his cell phone and dialed his mother. The phone picked up on the 4th ring, but Anton heard only a garbled version of his mother's voice.
Mom, you there? I can't hear you. Storm's got everything messed up. Hello?
A low whine.
What's up with you? Hello?
A faint moan came from the other end of the line. It sounded like his mother was in pain, but he could only hear weird, distorted words, as if she were speaking through broken glass. Soon the noise stopped. Silence. He listened closely for her breathing. Then came that smell again, like something died. Anton scrunched his nose and looked at his phone. It smelled like it was coming from his cell.
Ma, come on. You're starting to freak me out.
The line died. He hung up and wiped his suddenly sweaty palms on his pants. He set his phone down and got up, going over to the window for much-needed air. He pulled back the curtain and saw dark eyes within a face, hovering in the darkness beyond. His reflection watched him just as quietly as he watched it. The sun set early this time of year, so it was already dark out, making his reflection look as though it was materializing out of the darkness. Anton closed the curtain and sighed. If he opened the window, he would only let rain in. He went back to his TV and sat down. He flicked through the channels and settled on the news. But the image began to go funny. The lights dimmed and brightened again, flickering with the television.
Damn it. Not you too. Anything but the TV,
he said, standing up to smack the side of his television. The image stabilized.
That's more like it.
He stepped back to look at the TV screen, but it wasn't on Family Guy anymore. The TV showed him in his living room, with him standing in front of the TV set. Anton felt his heart quicken. He raised an arm. The man on the screen did so as well. When he jumped, so did the man.
The fuck?
He stepped back to look at the television screen. He wanted to slap himself, to wake up on the couch in front of his favorite show. Had someone always been watching him? Watching him just as he watched TV? The Anton on TV began to move. That wasn't right. He thought it was a live feed. He watched himself walk over to the table and pick the letter back up. He watched his other self reading. Anton thought he saw something else, though. Around the other him stood several dark and skinny shapes, like people not quite there. He squinted, trying to make the shadows out, when the floorboards creaked behind him. Anton whirled around, eyes darting. The front door was slightly open. He knew for sure he had locked it. He ran for it, stumbling over books and DVDs on the floor. He stubbed his toe on the corner of an end table and cursed before finally reaching the door and slamming it shut, locking it once more. He looked around his empty apartment.
No one is here. No one is here.
He whispered to himself. That's right. He was alone, as he had always been. He took several deep breaths. He was just high-strung, he told himself. He needed more sleep, maybe a hot shower. Suddenly, the television began to scream static, white fuzz obscuring whatever had been on. He could feel goosebumps rising on his arm. He hated that sound. Anton ran back to his couch to grab the remote, but it was gone. He looked on the table. No remote. He knew he had set it down. Had he thrown it on the way to the door? He began to search frantically, overturning his couch cushions, slapping magazines to the floor in his search.
God damn it,
He swore, turning to the TV and reaching behind it to snatch the power cord out. Silence. The television came back on. Except this time, it was black. He knew it was on because it wasn't the blank, lifeless screen he was used to seeing, but a dark image that seemed to shiver and move as if trying to bring back a picture. He threw the cord down and looked at the black, empty screen filled with darkness. The only sound in his apartment was his own heavy breathing and the slap of rain against the window.
the letter.
He said. The Anton on TV had went back to the letter. Was there more to it than he thought? He walked back to the table and snatched the letter up, opening it to read.
This can't be right.
The letter was different, completely different. The original writing was gone. It had been changed. He began to read the new writing.
Ignore them and they'll get in. They'll get in.
He read the last line.
Like clockwork.
He laid the letter down and shivered. He didn't know how the letter got changed. Perhaps someone had switched it. After all, his door was open earlier. Someone must have gotten inside. Anton shook his head over and over. Impossible.
No one is here.
As he said it, he could feel the emptiness of his home and life. He had a routine. People were rarely a part of that. The only one he could trust was himself. Anton balled his hands into fists and took 3 deep breaths. Hot shower, he thought. A nice hot shower to calm him down. He looked at the clock. 8? No, that wasn't right. Only 30 minutes had passed. Not hours. Anton laughed nervously.
The light. Duh. It reset the clock probably. Come on. Get it together, man.
he said. With a smile and nervous eyes, he made his way to the bathroom in the bedroom. He turned on the lights as he went, all of them. He left no shadow to linger. He closed the door of the bathroom behind him and pulled the shower curtain back to turn on the shower head. Hot, just short of scalding. Within minutes, the bathroom began to fog. Anton got undressed and folded his clothes up to lay them on top of the toilet. He got into his shower and let the hot water wash over him. Taking the soap and towel, he began bathing in his usual manner. Legs, arms, chest. He stood under the water and slowly relaxed. He closed his eyes. Water rushed over his face, and he paused. He couldn't explain it, but he suddenly felt watched. Anton opened his eyes, water stinging them because they were so wide. The bathroom door slowly opened. The lights began to flicker, and for a moment, he thought he saw writhing shadows against the wall in his bedroom, too tall and too skinny, like misshapen men moving around in his apartment.
Hey, who's there? Get out of here.
Anton jumped out the shower and grabbed his towel, wrapping his lower half before flying into his bedroom to hurt whoever it was. Anton was ready, heart racing, skin tight over his knuckles. But no one was there. Anton swallowed, and then the lights went out. Fumbling through the darkness of his bedroom, he got out a taper candle and a lighter. His heart felt like it would jump out of his chest. He lit the candle and held it to the darkness.
I'm warning you. You don't want to fuck with me.
A breath of cold air touched the back of his neck. He swung the candle around, searching the darkness. He could smell rotting meat again. And then something sounded from his living room. A small chorus of chuckles, so faint he wasn't sure he had heard it at all.
That's enough,
he said. He ran into the next room. There was no one there. He went to the couch and snatched up the letter. He opened it again. There was only one repeating line on it this time. They got in. They got in.
You want to play? Fine.
He held the letter over the candle and watched it catch fire. He grinned maniacally in the darkness as the yellow parchment darkened into ash. He waited till the last corner was left and released it to burn up in the air. It was done. Over. The lights came back on, strong and bright. He laughed into his empty living room. No one would get him. No one could get in. He was alone. He blew the candle out. Anton DeVoe had a schedule. Today he woke up at 6 a.m. as usual, took his shower, shaved, and in the middle of brushing his teeth, heard a knock on the door. Anton set his brush down and opened it. No one. No number 12 across the way. No door. No neighbors. No hall. Just endless darkness. His breath quickened. He looked down, sweat beading his forehead. At his feet was a small, white envelope. No address. And it read, "Open me."
My raven, oh how I've watched you for so long, and now I sit here late at night, tossing and turning about. What a fool I am. Goddamn, is it really so wrong? Perhaps it's good you are so devout. My raven, my love for you still burns, and oh how much I yearn. Let me rest, let me rest, let me rest. Dear raven, may my heart be still, because you know it will skip a beat when thoughts of you race through my head as I ready for bed. Unless my mind does distress and fills my very dreams with thoughts of you. Yes, I do confess, I have dreamed of you. Please, don't be cross, do not detest. I've tried so hard, my very best, to abstain from such habits, but it pains me. The cold ashes of unrequited love, the raven and the dove, I, of course, the pigeon. Ugh, I'm such a dumb bird. Now my love song is deterred. Inside me, there is something starved, some obsession that incurs. And now I cannot stop. See, my mind is racing. The demon stirs. Darkness falls, and I prey upon the image of you. The fall of your hair, the shine of your eyes. I imagine you sleeping, and like many nights before, I begin to fantasize. Yes, you come into view, all your features and your chambers too. Who knew that I, a woman of color, would fall for an angel in blue? A cop, a good man at that, who would befriend me and make my heart react. In fact, it has been a long time since anyone has ever made me so. That's why I cannot let go. I bring myself here, a nightly visitor, the dove perched upon the post, you, the host, sleeping peacefully as I grip the wood with talons long and black. My raven, do you sense me? Do you feel my presence? I see you toss and turn. Perhaps you feel unpleasant? You roll onto your back, adjusting yourself once more. I gaze upon your arms and chest, your taut skin over all those muscles you worked for. But I must get a better look. Yes, I must. I climb down onto the bed, your blanket light and soft. Then I creep. I creep and look down to see my hands are just as bird-like and grotesque as my feet. The soft sighing of your sheets, and the heat which radiates from your skin warms me as I cross over your beautiful form. And now you must be warned. I have a confession, my raven. I love you. There, I've said it, once here and at the shore. Oh, how I regret it. How pathetic, yet copacetic, reduced to visits which paralyze by night. I step onto you, one claw at a time. I cross your torso, your body so near. I get closer to your face and land upon your chest. Yes, my raven, it's where I always rest. Week after week, you talk of feeling oppressed. Yes, those dreams you tell me of, the ones where you feel you are possessed by some foul spirit who takes the shape of a bird-like creature which nests right on top of you, your chest no less. You spoke of it, yes, so many times. You confide in me your thoughts, your pain, and how this damn foul demon has you in unrest. Your eyes begin to flutter, a twitch of the lips, a groan, and a mutter. Your eyes open wide, but you can't move or scream, only sputter. Look at me. I wonder, can you hear my broken heartbeat? I sink my claws into you, right over your heart, and I pray to the night that we will never grow apart. Your lips tremble, and I feel you struggle to breathe, an agonizing thing that plagues you nightly, if at all, would not compare to love's pitfall. You are the very suffering of my soul, but tonight I have you in my hold, by some dream or fantasy, perhaps even supernatural reality. For you, though I'm sure it is a nightmare, I see the cross you wear, dear raven. And I, too, have prayers that I share with none other than myself in the dark. my remark. Does it make sense? Oh, how I am torn in two as I gaze down at you, frightened and stuck, but I don't give a fuck, you see. A battle wages on within me, and I smile. I smile, my Raven, all the while I watch your eyes go wide with terror, because you have come to realize you cannot move, and will not move, so as long as I am resting upon your chest. Where is your faith now? How much will your God allow? All I wanted was to show you my love, my vow. But you don't care anyhow. So I peck, a gentle touch that starts at your neck. The press of my smooth beak slowly begins to peak, because I love you, my Raven, and hate you all the same. What a shame. Night after night we play this game. I peck, a dove's kisses, a terrible thing fulfilling my deranged wishes. I see it in your eyes as I revel in my prize. My adoration is everything you despise. I raise my beak over your face and shower you in sharp kisses with haste. Your flesh is soft and my lips a dagger. I peck and pluck, and soon blood begins to spatter. Oh, what's the matter? Can you not stand my laughter? You scream and struggle, those beautiful eyes now filled with disgust. Yes, hate me with a passion more intense than lust. Ugh, look at you. Your face is a mess. So shall we get to the rest? It's time for me to take your eyes, my dear. So gorgeous, so wide with fear. But we've done this before. You cannot escape, and my beak draws near. From you drops a single tear, and I'm ripping out your eyes straight from the socket. I bet your mind is breaking, paralyzed puppet. Scream, shout, pray the demon goes away. But nothing will save you come night, nothing but the break of day. How still you lay. I peck and peck and peck, and you are stuck. You are stuck. And I, my Raven, I am love struck. It was Christmas Eve, and Sarah was at church. It was in full swing. Tonight was a special gathering. Pastor Reese looked at her with a smile, then addressed the room as the choir ceased their singing. Tonight marks the second coming of our Lord and Savior. Everyone cheered, whooped, and hollered. So did Sarah. They had talked about it for so many years, studied all the signs and rituals, read all the hymns and stories. Sarah wasn't sure she completely understood, but she believed in God, and that was all she needed to be saved. Our very own Virgin will receive his holy gift, Pastor Reese said. Then he looked at Sarah, someone youthful and pure, as chaste as Mother Mary herself. The congregation all began to look at her, and Sarah began to smile nervously. It wasn't a secret that she had saved herself for marriage. She remained a virgin by choice
and devoted herself to God, focusing on her studies as the pastor recommended. This made her pure. This made her special. The congregation were all looking at her expectantly now. Sarah, Pastor Reese held out his hand, and Sarah went to him and took it. The pastor smiled. He seemed pleased. "Tonight you make your journey," the pastor said. Sarah didn't quite understand, but she nodded. "You must be baptized and cleansed first. Then you would descend into the cave of Christ." She knew the cave. Everyone in the church did. But it was as mysterious as the Lord himself. A large wooden tub had been prepared and filled with water. It sat at the front, just before the choir in the pulpit. "Job," the pastor said, and a youth came forward. "You are to accompany Sarah." The boy nodded. "Job has already been cleansed," Pastor Reese said. "Step in, Sarah. The water is warm." Without a word, Sarah got into the tub. The water was as he said. "Kneel." Sarah kneeled and the congregation began to chant. The pastor laid a hand on her head and Sarah went still. She tried not to move as he mumbled his prayer. She looked at Job, the youth meant to accompany her. He was no older than 10, just a boy. He looked at her. His big eyes seemed to hold a sense of duty and fear. Sarah was scared too. "Amen," Pastor Reese said. Before Sarah could say it too, he was dunking her under. She bent backwards, her feet going under her and the pastor's hand holding her forehead. He held her there, and distantly she could hear him praying again. The words came warped and muffled by the water. Soon the hand on her head lifted, and so did Sarah. She came out of the water with a small gasp. She was greeted with smiling faces and applause. The knot in her stomach loosened, but for only a moment. "Sarah," the pastor said, helping her out of the tub. "The cave is waiting." She was soaking wet in her white gown. It was plastered to her body and dripping all over the carpet. The deacons all gazed at her. Now they all knew her nipples were a light shade of mocha. Sarah crossed her arms over her chest and thanked God she had shaved herself bare. "Matthew, Abel, open the way," the pastor said. The choir parted as 2 deacons passed through and went to the organ. Its pipes were huge and golden. There were rows of them, reaching up towards the roof of the underground church. The deacons stood to either side of the organ and pressed 2 keys on opposite ends at the same time. A deep rumbling sounded. The walls and floor shook as the back wall parted into an entrance. A hidden door to a cave. Cold air rushed out of the opening as soon as the doors parted. Everyone looked at Sarah again. "You would take Job, and that is all," the pastor said. "Look for the 3 kings. They will tell you what to do." Sarah pursed her lips. "Will I have time to dry?" "No. Go now, just as you are. God will provide." Sarah shivered. "How will I know when it's done? How will I find Christ?" "You will know," he said. Then he smiled softly. "This is what we, the world, has been waiting for. Our souls are in your hands, Sarah. Have faith." It was a lot of responsibility, she thought. Still, Sarah nodded. With Job following behind her, Sarah went to the entrance of the cave, barefoot and dripping. She was sure she'd leave slender, wet footprints on the stone floor behind her. The entrance was a giant gaping hole that fed right into the mountain. Sarah paused and glanced behind her, only to see the faces of the congregation staring intensely at her. Some were bewildered, some nervous, others overjoyed and eager. She looked down at Job. He had long hair for a boy his age, brown hair to his shoulders, and dark eyes. Sarah held out her hand, and Job took it. After all, he was still a child. The cave waited. Sarah paused. Then with a small breath, both of them entered the cave of Christ. Inside was as she thought it would be, cold, dark, and damp. As soon as they took the first step inside, the congregation began to sing behind them, slow, almost solemn in tone. Highs and lows languidly flowing together in an eerie vocal howl that echoed after them down the cave. A chill ran down Sarah's spine. Her hand tightened around Job's. "It's so cold down here," she said. "It's so cold down here." Her small voice echoed in waves, a strange imitation that sounded soft and close, and loud and far. Sarah had no clue how long the cave was. She glanced back and saw the entrance to the church was fading, a dull glow that got smaller with each step. The sounds of the choir were now but distant echoes. And like before with her voice, they echoed oddly, near and far, soft and loud. "Don't look back," Job said, tugging on her hand. Sarah looked down at the boy and smiled. She nodded. "Thank you for coming with me." Job looked at her. "Why did you do it? Aren't you scared?" she asked. Job shook his head. "They told me it wouldn't hurt." Sarah gave Job a confused look, and the boy pulled out a wrapped bundle. They stopped walking, and Sarah watched as Job opened the bundle to reveal a plant. "Mistletoe," she whispered. "Why?" The sound of shifting rocks caught their attention. Sarah turned to peer down the dark cave. She squinted and blinked at the dim glow she saw forming in the distance. It was some sort of light. "Do you see that, Job?" "Yes," he said. Sarah led him once more. They began to head towards the soft, glowing light at the other end of the cave this time. Sarah braved the darkness with her bare feet. Her body was damp and freezing. Her breath was white on the air now. The farther they got, the more unbearably cold it became. Sarah panted. Her toes were going numb, and the soles of her feet burned. And the light? It didn't seem any closer. Still, she kept walking, steadily forward, trying not to slip or lose her footing. Her knees and bones ached with the cold, and her teeth chattered along with Job's. They kept walking for several minutes, and still the light didn't seem to be any closer. Both of them walked in silence. Job didn't say a word. He quietly shivered, his breath coming in small white puffs. Occasionally, Sarah would see him clutch the bundle of mistletoe to his chest. She wondered why he wasn't spending Christmas with his family instead. Sarah stumbled, her body weakening, but Job was there to help balance her. Sarah caught herself, her heart beating faster. "We're going to freeze in here," she said. Job said nothing, but Sarah could see the hint of worry in his eyes. She doubted he knew anything more than she did. They both should have been with their families. Sarah had no idea what to do, but she had to get him back by morning. She smiled at Job and started forward again, and to her surprise, the light seemed a lot closer this time. Sarah walked faster, trying to keep their bodies from freezing. She desperately made her way over the icy stone, eyes widening as the cave did. The light was coming from a cavern. 3 statues stood in the way, but the closer Sarah got, the further she could see in. In the cavern ahead, she could see a warm-looking manger, glowing gold with straw and hay. Farther than that was another warm light she couldn't yet make out. They made their way to the crest of the cavern. Soon, Sarah and Job were upon the 3 statues. They were men, made of some odd marbled stone. Each statue had a tree growing from within it, shaping the stone into poses that seemed to be in action. Each also had an item and wore a crown upon his head. These must be the 3 kings, Sarah said, shivering. They unnerved her. They seemed so lifelike for stone. She looked past them to see what she knew had to be a fire somewhere nearby. Sarah stepped forward and a warm wind rushed up from the cavern beyond. The statues suddenly seemed to glow gently themselves.
You may not enter,
they said.
Beyond is the manger of Jesus Christ. Only those that give us 3 gifts may pass.
Sarah knew this had to be what Pastor Reese spoke of. Are you the 3 kings then?
Yes,
they said. Sarah was so cold. She had to get to the manger. What do I do? What can I do to get past?
For Christmas,
they said.
The day of his arrival, we desire gifts.
Sarah was confused, but nodded. Pastor Reese told her the wise men would know the way. She approached the first statue. Half of it was a smooth column of stone, but the top half was finely detailed. It stretched upwards, one arm raised as if struggling to get free. A branch stuck out of its mouth, but no leaves graced it. It was a dead branch. In the statue's other hand was a stone bowl with a wedge that pointed up into a sharp spike. Wise king, will you tell me what gift you desire? Though the statue had no eyes, Sarah could feel them turn down to look at her.
Wine,
it said. Wine? I don't have wine. But the statue was silent. She looked down at its bowl. Was it supposed to be some sort of juicer? Sarah thought about Mass. Wine. The blood of Christ. She suddenly looked at Job. Her limbs started to go numb. Did they tell you why you needed to come with me? Job nodded his head, then handed her the mistletoe. She shuddered at the thought of what she had to do, but they were both freezing. She pinched some mistletoe and crushed it into the palm of Job's left hand. She held it tight, then walked him to the bowl. Only a bit, okay? The mistletoe will numb it. Okay, Job said. Sarah placed his hand over the spike, then pushed it down. Job winced immediately, but didn't flinch away. Rivulets of crimson blood began to slide down the stone.
wine, wine,
the king said.
enough to satiate thirst.
Sarah put more mistletoe into Job's wound, then pressed his hand back down on the spike again. She did it deeper this time. The boy grimaced in pain and frowned so hard her heart wrenched. His fear was making his blood flow faster. He began to fill the bowl quicker this time. Sarah held him there. Is that enough? The statue was silent. Sarah pressed harder. More blood filled the bowl. Job's lips began to quiver, and his eyes were full of tears yet to fall. Is that enough? The bowl was a quarter full by now. Sarah stopped and pulled Job's hand away.
Gift accepted.
Sarah nodded and looked at Job. He was sniffling and holding his wounded hand. Sarah kneeled. Are you okay? He nodded, and she ripped a part of her dress, then wrapped it around the boy's hand tightly. She smiled and hugged him, trying to make him feel better. This is our test. We have to be strong, she said, hugging Job. Sarah stood and went to the next statue. This one was kneeling and had a stone box with a contraption of some sort. Built inside of it, there was a lever that stuck out the right side of the statue. It worked the gears attached to the stone box. Wise king, will you tell me what gift you desire?
Bread,
the second statue said. Sarah felt her stomach sink. She looked at Job, and she couldn't read him. No one would have prepared. She looked at Job, and she couldn't read him. No one would have prepared him for this. Whatever truth they told him, it was not this. But what choice did she have? She had to have faith. She looked at the box. "Job," she said, turning to the boy, "I think you need to stick your arm inside." Job looked at her and at the box. He finally let his fear show. "Just for a bit," giving him the bundle of mistletoe. "What do your parents always say? Have faith in God. He will not forsake us." He had to believe. They both did. "Believe, believe, believe," she whispered over and over again. Sarah didn't know if Job felt any consolation, but he went to the stone box. Because the statue was kneeling, it was just the right height for him to raise up slightly and stick his arm inside. Job grunted and slid his arm in up to the elbow. Sarah walked around to the side of the statue. She grabbed the lever, but it was heavy and hard to move. She began to strain, and soon she cried out. A few seconds of pushing with all her strength, and the lever began to budge under her weight. Something snapped, and the lever flipped up, and the mechanism reacted. Whatever weight it held was released, and inside the box, the stone contraption collapsed onto Job's arm, crushing it with a sickening sound. This time, Job screamed. He went pale and shook violently, eyes wide. Sarah covered her mouth. His screaming terrified her, but she could do nothing. "Job! Job!" Sarah yelled. Then the third king spoke. "I desire the gift of life," it said. Sarah's mouth was agape. She watched Job beginning to slow. "The breath of Christ," she said. Job's shaking calmed. He ceased his screaming. He was going limp, his eyes rolling back. Sarah went to him and caught his body before he could fall, saving him as he had done for her earlier. Despite it being so cold, his skin was sweaty and his long hair stuck to his face. She pulled him away from the second king. His arm came away severed. He had only a crimson stump in its place. Blood poured everywhere. "Jesus, Mary, and Joseph," Sarah whispered. She held the boy in her arms and walked him to the last statue. It wasn't even half a body, just shoulders, neck, and head with two arms raised up from the rock and holding a small table. Sarah laid Job on the platform. It was just low enough to place the face of the statue over Job's body. The statue's face looked to be screaming, its mouth agape, just like Sarah's had been. Job shuddered and coughed. Then Sarah watched as the last of him faded away. He finally succumbed to his injuries.
Your gifts have been accepted. You may pass, but go only as Adam and Eve did.
Sarah was shaking now, too. She could feel tiny ice crystals forming on her skin. She stiffly removed her dress as the king suggested. The thing was nearly frozen anyhow, and she was alone. She was happy to be rid of it. Naked, Sarah wobbled past the statues, shivering intensely. She crested the lip of the cavern and was hit with a warm rush of air that felt so good she sighed in relief. The manger was glowing with warmth. Its wood rose straight from the stone, smooth chocolate trees whose canopy enveloped each other and formed a sloping roof which made the walls of the manger more like a hut. Hay was everywhere, and in the center was a wooden basket filled with it. "A cradle," Sarah said. A flickering caught her eye. Sarah stepped out of the manger and found the source of the second glow. A bush set aflame. Sarah began to walk towards it, a burning bush in the middle of the cavern. Though its fire seemed to rage, Sarah heard no noise. Stone turned to sand under her feet, and soon Sarah was traveling across sand deep enough to mimic a desert. She glanced back at the manger, and it seemed impossibly far for the short distance she had walked. Sarah licked her lips and continued to walk towards the silent burning bush. The sand shifted to dunes as she traveled to the bush. When she came upon it, she stopped close enough to feel its heat radiate. She wrapped her arms around herself, fidgeting in place. A warm wind blew, as if she were somewhere outside, in the middle of some strange desert. Sarah looked up, and sure enough, she saw twinkling stars. It should have been impossible. She looked at the bush. I did it. I did everything. But the bush burned silently, without a word. Sarah wanted to cry. She sat down in the sand and pulled her legs close to her body, trying to warm herself by the fire. She felt so tired. It couldn't have been more than 20 minutes, but she felt she had done enough walking for days. Sarah rocked herself till her shivering ceased and her goosebumps went away. The fire was warm and good, giving life back into her bones. Tears finally ran down her cheeks. She fell over onto her side and curled up. She missed Job. She wanted it to be a dream, or for him to resurrect, just like Lazarus. She had to believe that he would. She had to have faith. Wasn't this what it was all about? Sarah rocked herself gently and closed her eyes. Even the sand was warm and welcoming. She let it hold her as she rested. Her body and mind felt so tired, so guilty. She thought of home and quickly fell asleep. She dreamed, or at least she thought she did, because she heard her name being called in a familiar voice that she had never heard before. It was quite angelic. Sarah. She thought of Christmas. Sarah. She thought of her mom. Sarah. She thought she felt hot, a lot warmer than before, and it was making her uncomfortable. Sarah groaned and began to wake. She wasn't imagining it. Her skin burned and stung. It was so hot, too hot. Her eyes flew open. The fire was no longer burning on the bush, but enveloping her like a lover. Its form matched that of a person's, with two torrents of flame shooting from its back like fiery wings. Sarah. A ghostly male voice sung. It was coming from the fire. Sarah screamed and started batting at the flames that were scorching her skin. She rolled and scrambled wildly onto her feet, ash and bits of ember raining on her. Her flesh felt raw and red as she slapped at it. Sarah, Sarah, Sarah. It sang with many voices. Without looking back, she ran straight back towards the manger, screaming and whimpering. She could feel the fire regaining strength. It began to sing in its strange voice again, howling with the voices of 1,000 angels. The cavern glowed brighter as it chased after her. She could tell how close it got by the heat she felt on her back. Sarah ran, panting and crying. Her feet sank in the sand, and she thought she could smell her hair burning. Sarah cried out desperately and pushed herself forward so her feet felt stone once more. She didn't look back. She prayed. She prayed and was suddenly within reach of the manger again. She ran to it and ducked inside, shaking and whimpering. She could hear it singing. It was still coming for her, and it was going to burn her alive. It sang. She pressed herself into the corner of the manger and pulled her legs to her head. She covered her ears and prayed silently, crying and wishing everything would just stop. She was so afraid. She wanted to have faith, but she was terrified. She didn't want to die. The fire sang and the hut grew hot, so hot she knew it must have been on fire now. The singing was loud, so loud now it hurt. Sarah screamed in terror. She screamed to drown out the singing, her heart pounding and her skin burning. It was too much. Everything overwhelmed her. Finally, the fear and the darkness took her, and Sarah passed out. When Sarah woke, she didn't know how much time had passed, but the fire was gone and the cave was dark again. She was naked and her skin was slightly burned. The manger was dark, empty, and cold. Sarah stood and saw the bush in the cavern was no longer on fire. She quickly left. She went back to the three kings. Each still stood there, but with branches now green with leaves. The gifts were gone, and where Job's body had been was only a pile of ash in the shape of a boy. Sarah walked back the way she had come with Job. She moved desperately with her hands outstretched in the darkness, walking quicker than when she had descended. But with almost every step, Sarah could feel her body changing. It started with a small ache, a dull pain in her lower abdomen that was suspiciously close to her uterus. Her aches turned to cramping, and soon she was stumbling through the cave with her stomach growing heavier. Sarah's body ached and burned, and her skin broke out into a sweat. She nearly begun to run, searching the darkness for any sign of the church. Something in her stomach moved, and Sarah looked down at her virgin body to see it ripe and swollen. She kept walking, kept fleeing towards home and salvation. Every minute made her stomach grow larger. Then a second heartbeat joined hers. Sarah stopped. She could hear it and feel it. A baby was moving just under the skin. It had barely been 10 minutes. Sarah looked up, and a light flickered ahead. Her stomach grew to full pregnancy the closer she got to the light. She groaned as the swelling stopped and her bladder ached. Her feet swelled but carried her to the entrance of the cave, where the light of the church poured in. Sarah blinked and squinted, throwing a hand up to shield her eyes as she stepped through and into the church once more. "Sarah," Pastor Reese said. She stood naked and at full term. The baby in her stomach moved, turning gently. She placed both hands on her stomach and looked down at the impossible, then back up at the congregation, which had not moved since she had left. They all stood and watched her as the clock struck midnight. "Merry Christmas," Pastor Reese said. "Merry Christmas," said Sarah. And then her water broke. And then the choir began to sing.
Joe's